Do you know what milk and grow lights have in common? They can both go bad. So we've all turned on our grow lights at some point and realized that they weren't growing the way that they used to. And your plants may start to show some signs of that. It might be legginess, which is the stretching of the seedling as it's trying to reach for light. It may be yellow because it's not actually able to photosynthesize or generate enough energy to turn green and beautiful. It may also just be the fact that it looks slightly dim, as dimmer than it used to when you first got them. And what causes that? All right, so in my hand here I have two different grow lights. This is just a single T8 compact fluorescent tube. And then this here is an LED fixture, simple kind of a T5 style setup. But the thing that they both have in common is that they're both grow lights. Where they differ is what's considered their life hours. And their life hours is how many hours they can operate before they start to lose efficiency. So when it comes to compact fluorescents, they have a lower life hours because of the fact that a lot of their energy is actually wasted in heat. They're not quite as efficient. And you're gonna find that after about 20,000 hours, your lights will start to not only turn dim, but they'll also really lose a lot of their growing capabilities. And with a more efficient light like this LED, you're gonna get about 50,000 hours. Now, I wanna be really clear. A lot of gardeners get this mixed up and they say, well, there's no way that I'm running my light for 20,000 or 50,000 hours. I should be able to get 7 to 10 years out of them before I replace them. And in some cases, if you're not operating them that often, that could be true. But if you're running them at an average of around 16 to 18 hours a day, and you're using them for 2 to 3 months at a time for 6 to 7 years, that's not really going to be the case. You're gonna find that you're gonna be replacing your bulbs much more frequently than someone that only runs them for maybe a month or so and runs them for 10 to 12 hours a day. So usage plays a big role, but every grow light, regardless if it's an LED or a compact fluorescent, will follow a curve. And it's really important you understand this. So let's go to the whiteboard. All right, so this chart is super important because if you don't watch your grow lights, this is gonna happen to every grow light that you buy. And over time, they're gonna lose power faster and faster as they get older. And so starting at the y-axis here, this is the percentage of available grow light that the light gives off. And then this is the life expectancy of the grow light. And so if we all start at the same point here, what you'll find is that they actually follow what's considered a bell curve. And so they start out great. They start out losing power slowly, but then it drops off dramatically. And then it actually plateaus to a point where the light is still working, but you'll notice it's really not losing any more grow light. And then if you compare that to an LED will taper, drop off, and will follow the same path of a death of a grow light, but it's much more gradual over time. So what you really have to look at here is you have to look at the percentage of available grow light given off, and what is that percentage? And that's what I'm gonna explain now. All right, so what is the point at which you actually wanna replace a grow light? Do you wanna replace it down here? No, because it's actually lost most of its available grow light actually given off. Just because you can read a book underneath that light does not mean your plants are gonna grow. But then, well, when do you replace it? Do you replace it up here? Well, no, because there's still a lot of grow light still being given off. What I like to do is I like to go at about 60 to 70% of my grow light's capability, which I find is gonna be like right about there. And so that way, I've gotten the most use out of my grow light, but after that point, you look at kind of how many hours are in a season. You can do that pretty simply by going how many days you're using your grow light, how many hours they are per day on, and you can do the basic math. And at the point when I can't get a full season, out of it is when I'm gonna replace it. And so I find typically for me, that's about 10,000 hours on a compact fluorescent and about 20,000 hours on an LED that they're operating. At that point, that's when I replace them. All right, so once you know the point at which you should be replacing your grow lights, what happens if you're either not financially able to replace them or you are kind of right in the middle of your seed starting season? What can you do in those cases? Well, I'll tell you. All right, so the first thing you can do is simply move the lights closer. Now this is gonna buy you some time because the real reason why your lights are losing power is not that they don't work, it's that they don't give off as much light as they would when they were brand new. And so by reducing the distance or moving them closer to your plant, you're actually going to be taking that available light that it is giving off and moving it closer. Now that obviously only works to a certain point, right? That's just buying you time, but it absolutely can buy you, 3 to 6 months worth of grow light usage, which could be, a season or even a season and a half out of your grow lights by simply moving them closer. How close? That's really up to how your plants like it. If you get too close, they might burn with something like a compact fluorescent, or it may just become a point where they're basically touching the lights, and at that point, just replace them, right? So you can't just keep moving them closer, but when they first start to drop off with power, you can drop the distance and you'll have a positive impact. So for instance, I've got this LED here, and if it was up here, if I drop it down here, you'll notice that the light is obviously having to travel far less distance, so your plants are getting more of that growable light that is being given off. And the second thing you can do, which is actually really reliable and actually pretty budget friendly, is known as light cycling. Now a lot of growers, when they have a ton of lights, will actually light cycle. And that's because basically the premise of this is that half of the lights are kind of starting to lose power, but if you have half the lights that are at full power, it makes up for it. And so essentially in an 8-bulb setup, you would replace 4 of those bulbs, 4 out of the 8. And you'd leave the other 4 to continue to diminish in growable light, whereas the other 4 are basically brand new. You'd let those go and let the other 4 completely use up their life, in which you'd then replace the 4, and you'd always basically be at roughly 60 to 70% life expectancy. They would always be in a state of decline, but you're not replacing 100% of your lights all the time. So you get a little bit more life out of them, and if that's something that works for you, that's actually something that a lot of growers will do. Now the only downside to this is that you really can't do that with LEDs, and most of the industry has moved to LEDs now. Light cycling was awesome with compact fluorescents, and we still do it with these lights here. I just replaced these 4 lights, something that I even do because I don't want to replace all 8 lights. I've actually replaced 4 of these lights just last year. And then next year, I'm gonna move those 4 lights over. I have them marked with a little Sharpie, and then the other 4 lights are gonna be brand new. And so about every 2 years, I cycle my lights through, and they're pretty inexpensive. At the point when I wanna completely overhaul these systems, then I'll move to LEDs, and I won't be able to do that, but I am gonna be getting twice as long of a life expectancy out of my LEDs than I am for my compact fluorescents. So it kind of will make up for itself. So in summary, that is how your grow lights can start to kind of stink over time and why your plants may be suffering and you don't know why. And so I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you all learned something new. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I really do hope that this video helped. If it did, also, please let me know in the comments box down below. I want to create content that gets you thinking, that makes you excited about gardening, that helps you to grow big and to have more fun gardening. And so if any of those things were achieved in this video, please let me know. I really appreciate it. And so we've been going on 13 years of this, going on actually 14 years of this. And so after 14 years, creating new and exciting content does get difficult. And so if you also have any ideas of things you'd like to see, please let me know in the comments box down below. As always, I appreciate it. And grow bigger. Take care. Bye.